Lithium-ion dominates home solar storage. It costs up to $22,000 and dies in 10 to 15 years. In 1901, Thomas Edison patented a nickel-iron battery that retains 80% capacity after 30 years, costs $1,000 to build, and has cells still holding charge more than a century later. It was deliberately killed, and the chemistry behind that survival begins in 1899. Inside Edison's West Orange laboratory, the search for a better battery took on the scale of an industrial experiment. By the summer of 1899, his team had already tested hundreds of possible combinations, logging each result in thick, handwritten notebooks. Iron filings, nickel oxide, copper alloys, every permutation was tried, measured, and discarded if it failed to deliver both strength and stability. Early attempts with sodium-based electrolytes fizzled out, producing too much gas and corroding the plates. But potassium hydroxide, first recorded as a candidate in July 1899, proved to be a turning point. Edison's notes from late 1900 described KOH as providing superior conductivity and slowing the corrosion that plagued other designs. The negative plate settled on pure iron, chosen for its abundance and resistance to breakdown in an alkaline bath. For the positive side, nickel hydroxide stood out after repeated sintering trials, holding up against deep charge and discharge cycles without cracking. Over 10,000 combinations were tested before Edison settled on this triad: iron, nickel hydroxide, and potassium hydroxide. May 5, 1901, he filed U.S. Patent 707,207, locking in a chemistry that was designed from the ground up for longevity, reliability, and low self-discharge. The deliberate choices made in those notebooks would set the foundation for a battery that, on paper, could outlast anything else on the market. Independent testing has put Edison's nickel-iron chemistry to the kind of stress few batteries ever face. In 1975, a University of Illinois team cycled an original Edison cell through 10,000 full charge and discharge cycles, roughly the equivalent of daily use for more than 27 years. When the test ended, the cell still delivered 92% of its original capacity. That level of retention stands out in a field where most batteries lose a third of their storage after just a few thousand cycles. Field evidence backs up the laboratory numbers. A restored Edison cell, installed in 1985 and used for solar energy storage, was tested after 3 decades of service. The result? 80% of its initial capacity remained, despite years of deep cycling and only basic maintenance. These figures are not isolated outliers. They represent the kind of durability that nickel-iron technology routinely delivers under real-world conditions. For homeowners, that means a battery bank that could last as long as the roof it's powering, without the looming expense of a full replacement every decade. The numbers set a high bar for any modern competitor, especially when it comes to long-term value. Modern lithium-ion batteries dominate the home energy storage market, but their promise of long-term reliability fades under scrutiny. Most residential lithium packs, whether nickel-manganese-cobalt NMC or lithium iron phosphate LFP, are rated for 4,000 to 5,000 full cycles. That equates to roughly 10 to 12 years of daily use before capacity drops to levels that trigger a replacement. Even without heavy cycling, lithium cells lose about 3% of their storage each year due to calendar aging. By year 10, a typical system will hold just 70 to 80% of its original charge. When that drop becomes noticeable, the only remedy is a full battery swap. The price for a new 10 kilowatt-hour lithium pack, including inverter and warranty, ranges from $14,000 to $22,000. Maintenance is minimal, but the cost of replacement looms large, especially for homeowners who expect a system to last as long as their solar panels. While lithium's efficiency and compact size are often praised, the reality is hard to ignore. Most lithium batteries are designed with a short game in mind, built to be replaced every decade, not to endure for generations. In 1914, Henry Ford stepped into the spotlight with a bold announcement. He would partner with Thomas Edison to build an electric vehicle powered by nickel-iron batteries. Ford's engineers praised the battery's quick recharge and promised it could power a car for 100,000 miles, numbers that sounded almost futuristic at the time. The partnership brought a surge of optimism, with Ford's Highland Park plant gearing up for a new era of electric transportation. But that summer, disaster struck. A hydrogen explosion inside the battery assembly area triggered a massive fire, wiping out the prototype pack and a warehouse of electrolyte. Newspaper headlines captured the chaos as flames gutted the facility. Ford's internal memos from July 1914 reveal the fallout. The Engineering Council halted the electric vehicle project, citing the safety risks and performance gap exposed by the incident. The battery had survived lab tests and Edison's relentless experimentation, but it couldn't escape the realities of large-scale production. Within 18 months, Ford's team shifted back to gasoline engines, and the promise of a nickel-iron-powered car faded. The collapse of this partnership left Edison's battery exposed, stripped of its biggest commercial backer, and vulnerable to the shifting priorities of American industry. In 1972, General Electric acquired the Edison Storage Battery Company, absorbing its nickel-iron line into a sprawling industrial portfolio. The move was framed as a step toward modernizing backup power, but the reality inside GE's boardrooms told a different story. Internal records from June 1973 show executives weighing the nickel-iron battery's technical strengths against the rising tide of sealed lead-acid and lithium research. The verdict came in a confidential memo circulated in March 1974. The nickel-iron line was declared commercially non-viable. The memo instructed managers to halt external publication of performance data, warning that publicizing the battery's longevity could undermine GE's investments in new lithium chemistries. Production figures reflected this decision. Output fell from thousands of kilowatt-hours per year to almost nothing by the end of 1974. Facilities that once assembled Edison's rugged cells were retooled to develop petrochemical-based flow batteries, often in partnership with companies like Exxon and Dow. By fiscal year 1975, the nickel-iron battery vanished from GE's catalog, leaving only scattered technical files and a handful of surviving installations. The deliberate shelving of Edison's chemistry erased a century-old alternative just as the energy storage market was poised for transformation. A new wave of research has put iron-based batteries back in the spotlight, this time with technology that builds directly on Edison's century-old chemistry. At UCLA, Dr. Richard Kaner's team has engineered a nanocluster iron electrode that can fully charge in just half a second. Their prototypes have passed 12,000 deep cycles while retaining over 90% of their original capacity, numbers that eclipse the lifespan of any lithium-ion pack. The projected cost is equally striking. The Department of Energy ARPA-E program, which supported Kaner's work with a $30 million grant, forecasts iron-air storage at just $20 per kilowatt-hour by 2030. That is a fraction of the price for lithium systems, and it is made possible by the same material abundance Edison relied on 100 years ago. Yet even with these breakthroughs, a major obstacle remains. The federal tax code, specifically Section 127 of the Energy Policy Act and the 2022 Treasury Notice 45, excludes non-lithium alkaline-based chemistries from the 30% investment tax credit. This means that homeowners and small businesses who choose iron or nickel-iron batteries are locked out of the same incentives that make lithium-ion more affordable. The policy, shaped by industry lobbying, leaves iron-based storage at a disadvantage in the U.S. market, despite its technical promise. The result is a technology that can outlast and undercut lithium on cost, but still faces a financial barrier that has nothing to do with chemistry or engineering. A working nickel-iron battery bank doesn't require a six-figure lab or a corporate supply chain. With a bulk buy strategy, the price drops to levels that rival even subsidized lithium packs. Raw sheet metal for cell housings can be sourced for about $5 per cell. Modern nickel-iron cells from Chinese suppliers average $90 each in quantity. A 12-cell pack, enough for a basic home storage system, lands right around $1,000 in parts. That number covers the cells, steel case, busbars, and the potassium hydroxide electrolyte. There's no need for proprietary electronics or a branded inverter. For anyone willing to do the assembly, the entry point is clear: a century-ready battery bank for about the cost of a new laptop. Keeping a nickel-iron battery running is a matter of simple, low-cost habits. Every few months, distilled water is added to replace what's lost to evaporation, about $2 a year for a typical home system. The only other major task is refreshing the electrolyte, which needs swapping out every 10 to 15 years. That's a $45 job done with basic safety gear and a bucket. There's no need for special monitoring, thermal management, or proprietary software. Over 30 years, total maintenance adds up to less than $200. For many homeowners, that's less than the price of a single service call on a lithium system. Australia's remote farms have relied on nickel-iron battery banks since 1994, with some systems still delivering over 88% of their original capacity after nearly 3 decades in service. In Germany, the Feldheim microgrid has recorded 88% retention over 22 years, supporting village power through long outages. The Netherlands reports a 90% capacity level after 30 years on a rural microgrid. These international records confirm the chemistry's ability to withstand decades of real-world use, far beyond the lifespan of typical lithium systems. Today, lithium batteries lose up to 30% capacity in a decade and often need expensive replacement. Edison's nickel-iron cells, proven to last a century, remain sidelined by policy and industry inertia. As solar adoption accelerates, real energy resilience may depend on remembering what was buried, not just what's new.